Yo, folks and friends, RC here. Today we're diving back into the lawless no man's land that is Y-Comm random matches, utilizing yet another silly team. This team is primarily an unconventional rain team, though a particular member of said team wound up stealing the show. Though a Pokémon which is typically passive and largely just on rain teams for support, in this unique case it wound up accumulating quite the impressive body count. Let's take a look.
Oh my God! Don't cry for me. I'm already dead.
Denied.
So yes, as you can see, this is an especially toxic Politoed, but not Toxicroak. That's a completely different thing. Poliwhirl and Poliwrath learned Fissure from TM27 in Generation 1, so Mind Reader plus Fissure Poliwrath has been on the table since the Virtual Console releases of the old Game Boy games released on the 3DS. But Politoed, on the other hand, found itself in a catch-22 position. Poliwag has Mind Reader as an egg move, but Mind Reader would need to be deleted in order to transfer it to Gen 1 and teach it Fissure as a Poliwhirl. So Politoed has been in a state of legality limbo where it could have Mind Reader or it could have Fissure, but it could never possess both at the same time. That is, until Gen 8 introduced the new mechanic of transferring egg moves onto pre-existing Pokémon, which is where this horrible combination at last became possible. And without further ado, let's just hop right into some Y-Comm random battles and see how these people enjoy this lovely Politoed set. First up, we're going up against David 1 today, the first in the popular David line of trainers, and they are going to be leading with Akin Figir, which is a Ferrothorn. And we are going to start off with the one, the only Politoed. No need to make them wait to have the introduction to our dear friend and the star of the video here. Normally this would be a really bad matchup for us, because I mean, what can Politoed possibly hope to do against Ferrothorn? Well, we're about to show David 1 exactly what our Politoed can hope to do against them. They're probably pretty confident here and perhaps think I'm a little insane for not switching out, which they're not wrong, just not in the way that they're thinking. And there it goes. They stay in, probably expecting maybe Hypnosis or something similar after a Mind Reader, but what they got was far worse. I put him to bed alright, just not in the conventional sense. And out comes Rotom Fan, and you don't see Rotom Fan very often at all, so kudos to David 1 for using the least used of the Rotom appliances. Politoed's going to go ahead and get out of here because we don't want to have anything to do with what it's going to do. And I am going to send in Gastrodon to take the incoming Thunderbolt. They did not predict that, thankfully, so we just get a completely free switch. Now, this is actually a Choice Specs Gastrodon rather than a typical defensive Gastrodon, and it takes advantage of the rain to unleash some really nasty Hydro Pumps, if they actually hit. So not only do we have a Rotom Fan, we have a physical Rotom Fan using Poltergeist, so that's interesting. It actually survives a Choice Specs super effective Ice Beam, and not bad there. And it actually has a Citrus Berry, so Maybe they're running a more defensive, bulkier type of set. And here they're going to use Substitute. I don't know what they were hoping to accomplish here other than to just extend their inevitable demise one more turn. But Ice Beam is easily going to take that out, so they didn't gain much from setting it up that turn. The rain stopped. Oh, don't worry. We'll get the rain back. If not from water from the clouds, then from the tears of our opponents. So here it hits us with an Air Slash, so it's a mixed set. Substitute Poltergeist Air Slash. Wonder what the last move is. We'll never know though, because it just disappears just like that. Fare thee well, levitating flying type. Next up we have Gorbacho, the Dracovish. Love that shiny Dracovish. So there's not really any point in switching here. I'm not super afraid of this thing since we have Storm Drain. This is the event Gastrodon that was released not too long ago, and a few months ago, as of the time of this recording, in fact. So it's going to Dynamax, which took me off guard a little bit. You usually don't want to Dynamax this creature because then you lose out on Vicious Wren's double power effect and you miss out on Strongjaw. And you can see here that its attack is pretty lackluster if you take all of those multipliers out of the equation, because Gastrodon does manage to live and get an Ice Beam off. Now, Dracovish does have pretty decent defenses. Its defenses are actually better than its offenses. You'd never know that from facing them, but that's just because, like I said, all those multipliers on Vicious Wren and Strongjaw and whatnot make it seem much more powerful than it usually is when it's using any attack other than Vicious Wren. So Gastrodon goes down, but it did a very good job. It took out a Rotom, and it chunked out this Dracovish a little bit and stalled out some of its Dynamax. So now we're going to go in with Heliolisk, because this does have dry skin, so if they decide to go for a water type move, it won't have any effect. But I'm pretty confident I'm going to just outspeed it anyway. Well, no, I'm not. Strike that. It's not even confidence. I know I'm going to outspeed it because Choice Scarf doesn't work while you're Dynamaxed. So we don't have what it takes to KO it with Thunderbolt. Unsurprising, because it is Dynamaxed and it is fairly bulky, just natural bulk, even if you don't invest anything into it. And Heliolisk goes down, so that's unfortunate, but we've gotten some pretty good damage on it so far. So now we're going to send in Choice Scarf Gourgeist. This is actually the smallest of the Gourgeist, which is also the fastest. So we have a plus speed Jolly Nature and also Choice Scarf, so that we can get the drop on other things and revenge kill them and whatnot. So it's going to go back down, and I'm just going to click Poltergeist here. There's two Poltergeists in the same battle. How about that? And we're going to attack it with its Choice Scarf. I figured it had a Choice Scarf because they always have Choice Scarf or Choice Band. But because we're just innately faster and also have a Choice Scarf, there was no chance that it could outspeed us anyway, so it didn't matter which one it had, it was going down. So in comes Colossal, and you know, Gourgeist doesn't like seeing that too much, so we're just going to go right back into the Destroyer here. And we really don't need to Mind Reader Fissure this, as funny as it is, and I'd like any excuse to do so, but I mean, let's be real here, it's quadruple weak to water and it's raining and I have Stab on my Scald, so that will bury it even further down than the Fissure ever could. Although it's quadruple weak to ground as well, not that that matters for a one-hit KO, but hey. So they're going to unleash the Flamethrower, which tickles its tummy ever so slightly with rain, special defense, and whatnot. That did absolutely nothing. So just looking at the rest of their team here, making sure it's safe to go for a Scald, and it is, because there's nothing left on their team that wants to switch into this now that their Dracovish is gone. And in comes Silvally. The shiny one, that is from the event from last generation. Yeah, I've got one of those myself. And now they don't have one of them because it gets absolutely demolished by a critical hit Scald. It probably would have lived without the crit. I do think the crit probably mattered because Silvally has respectable defenses and this Politoed doesn't have any special attack investment whatsoever. So in Well, if it isn't you. Look at that, we almost made it through an entire battle without seeing a single hack, but don't worry, they got it taken care of. So, it's going to launch thunder at us that does not do nearly enough for me to worry here, unless it gets a crit or paralyze hacks me or something. It's not going to be able to stop the incoming destruction. So we got our mind reader off, and they're probably sweating bullets at this point, and hoping for a crit or a paralysis. So in comes Pokegen's next thunder, and that's going to just also do a decent amount of damage, and they do get the paralyze, but that's not nearly enough to stop us. And, yep, there it is. There's the paralysis. Almost got 2 mind reader fissures in a single match, but it just wasn't meant to be this time. But I've gotten up to 3 of them in other matches, so, you know, you take what you can get, right? So down goes Politoed. It only claimed 1 victim this round, but it claimed many others across the other battles, so you can't win them all. And the rain is going to clear, so how fitting. The rain ends when its producer ends. So we're going to bring Gourgeist back in, and we know that we are going to outspeed because we are Choice Scarfed. We're going to frisk it, see it has an Aguav berry. It's an interesting hold item. And I'm just going to go for Destiny Bond. I could have gone for Poltergeist, but I don't know if it would have KO'd. And it also can miss, and both of those would be pretty detrimental to me at this point. So I'm just going to sacrifice my pumpkin here and take this thing out. And so it's going to do some Shadow Ball things. Feeling very Shadow Ball-y, may delete later. And we're going to take it down with us, which is what we were hoping to do, so great. If it had gone for anything other than an attacking move, that could have gone very poorly, but that is not the case. And next, we are sending in our Noivern as their Colossal comeback. Excuse me, got something in my throat there. Perhaps the rocks and cold of the Colossal switching in. And so, Noivern takes a big old chunk from those stealth rocks from earlier, and I'm thinking about Dynamaxing to try and get some good damage on it, but I don't think I'm going to get good damage on it even with a Dynamax, because the best we have is a resisted Hurricane. I don't have any Dragon Stab on this particular set, so I'm just going to Roost. And you may be wondering why I would do this, but I'm actually just trying to take less damage from Stone Edge and also stall out their Stone Edge PP, because with what I have left on my team, nothing really particularly wants to take a Stone Edge. So we got 1 of its PP down. I don't know if they have 5 PP for it or if they maxed the PP, which means it would have 8, but I'm just going to get a little bit of damage off on it with Hurricane here. And the Stone Edge is going to finish our Noivern off, so that's 2 Stone Edges down. Keep trying to keep track of it here. I think I do lose track of it in a little bit, but out comes the Xatu here. So this is one of the reasons we're trying to bleed the Stone Edge PP out of this. And this is a ridiculous Xatu set, to say the least. It is a physical Xatu, which in itself is weird, and it is a curse set. So the general idea is to just get some curses off, become very bulky, and then just tank hits and deal damage from there. It doesn't have any direct attack investment of its own. It relies on Curse to get its attack boost, so that combined with Xatu's lackluster attack stats means you usually need at least 2 curses to get anything done. So I'm thinking about Dynamaxing, then I'm like, no, because we gotta get rid of that Stone Edge PP. We gotta continue going on with that train of thought, because if it gets even a single crit, we're going down, and that's the end of the battle. So in comes this Stone Edge, and so that's 3 PP down. Isn't counting and learning fun? And so we're just going to essentially keep roosting here to bleed out the PP. I'm going to speed up the footage tremendously here, because all I'm going to be doing for the foreseeable future is using Roost, using Curse, and just bleeding it dry of all these Stone Edges so that I can actually begin boosting and damaging it, because Colossal has really high defense in addition to our mediocre attacking stats, so we're going to have to put in some real work here to come out of this victorious. So all of its stone edges finally dissipate, and it switches to using Flamethrower, and so I switch to using Curse, also using Roost periodically to make sure I keep my own health up. So now we Sucker Punch it, and it causes like absolutely no damage. That's so sad. We at least have it down below half health at this point, but we need to periodically use Roost to keep ourselves from fainting, and it gets a burn, and that's just like, yeah. That's the trouble when you're trying to boost yourself up. So I wasn't going to Dynamax, but I have to here now with the burn, because I was already causing next to no damage before with Sucker Punch, and so now that I'm burned, like, yeah, it's not going to be doing nearly enough. So we Dynamax here and switch to using Max Darkness so that we can cause just a bit more damage, while also mitigating the damage we take since we doubled our HP, so we don't have to keep roosting quite so often. And yeah, I wasn't joking when I said that it went on for a while, because we're almost at the end of the 20-minute timer here. You can see there that we got down to the minute marker for the battle to end. And so I really want to take this thing out after all of this time and work put in. I'd hate for it to knock me out, or even just win by timer at this point. That wouldn't be very satisfying. It's gotta go down, and it has to be Xatu that brings it down, not the incredibly horrific restrictive timer that can't be changed in this generation. Not even mad though. And so, 15 seconds left on the clock. Are we gonna be able to do it? And down to 10, 9, 8. Here comes the Max Darkness. Is it going to? There we go. To say that was close would be an incredible understatement. But hooray! We did it! We defeated a Colossal with a terrible, terrible Xatu set using physical moves. And now, on to the second battle against Luna. And oh, Arceus, forgive me, for I have sinned. The crimes against humanity I inflicted upon this poor trainer. Well, let's see, shall we? They are going to lead with their Inteleon, and I'm like, hey look, I brought a water type too. Let's see which of them is stronger. So Politoed's going to come on in, it's going to set up the Drizzle. This will also power up Inteleon's attacks, but I am very unconcerned. They tend to run special sets, and this Politoed is actually max HP and max special defense calm, so there isn't a whole lot it can do to me. As you see here, that was even a crit at that, and it still only did that much. So we are going to read its mind. What devious things will we find there? Nothing half as suspicious as what's going on in this Politoed's mind, because we are about to unleash absolute destruction upon this lizard, and it has no idea what's coming its way. But once it sees it, it cannot unsee it. And down into the great abyss it falls. It's a one-hit KO! So that Inteleon is out of here. A fantastic start for us, and I'm sure my opponent is equally as excited about where this battle is headed. Next we have Type Null, which is a nice thing to see. They can actually run very bulky with a Violite. And there it goes, unleashing a nice support Thunder Wave to, well, slowing the Politoed doesn't help too much because it's already really slow, but the random paralysis chance can often come in handy, as we saw in the last battle where it robbed me of a potential kill. So we get a little bit of leftovers recovery, further mitigating what that poor Inteleon died to do. And we actually get an X-Scissor, a non-stab X-Scissor to the face. But no time to think about why it would be doing that, because it's just about to leave, and it's out of here. Oh, don't forget your coat and hat! So that's 2 victims that have been claimed by the Earth, thanks to Politoed. And at this point, my opponent, if they're not sweating, they should be. Thankfully, the rain should just wipe it right off their brow. So they're done playing around. They're like, alright, we're sending in the box legendary here. I've had more than my share of this Politoed. To which I say, oh no you haven't, let's keep going. So we're going to go for Mind Reader. I bet you guys didn't guess that one. See, we could have just scalded it, got some nice chip, burned it, but no. We're going to go all the way, or we're not going to go at all. So we lock on, thinking about its wars and its many battles in the past and all of the horrors and Eternatus and whatnot it overcame. Oh, and to think how far it would come to fall now to a frog. But guess what, folks? That's exactly what's going to happen as we take our third victim in a row. Oh man, what a way to go. I bet they won't write about that one in the legends. That's one that you can absolutely understand why they would strike that from the record. So we've got half of the opponent's team down at this point, thanks to good old Politoed, and man, I can only imagine what the opponent is feeling right now. I'm very proud of them for not snapping their switch in half up to this point. So we're gonna bring our Politoed back now and give him a little chance to breathe without having to worry about another fissure incoming, for the time being anyway. As this bunny rabbit is going to kick us right in our gooey slimy face. And double kick again. It doesn't have Libero, so it is using non-stab double kick. This could just be their in-game Cinderace. It won me against all of the gym leaders. Where can it possibly go wrong? Well, like this it can. So it eats a Hydro Pump powered by Choice Specs, and there's no way it's living that, so down it goes. Next is Dino, which is a cool thing to see. It's not very often you get to see this stage of the evolution. You see Swalus sometimes because it can run some nice hustle sets. You throw a Choice Band on, actually can really chunk opponents. But Dino, not as much. So it has Astonish. Oh my goodness, you savage, using it such powerful attacks. And then it switches over to Dragon Breath, which is marginally better than Astonish. Not by much, not coming from it, but it actually does survive a Hydro Pump. I don't know if it naturally lives, maybe it has a Violite. It is not very effective, but it is coming off of a max special attack Choice Specs Hydro Pump, so... Well, it may have lived one, but it's certainly not living two. I'm actually quite astonished myself, speaking of astonished, that all these Hydro Pumps have hit. Almost every Hydro Pump that I've used when having these battles with this team has actually hit, so that's very fortunate. If anyone is well versed in the use of Hydro Pump, they know the frustration of just how low 80% accuracy actually is in practical use. It seems so high, you know, the move hits 8 out of 10 times, but man, it sure doesn't feel like it when you're actually trying to use it yourself. As particularly when it misses multiple times in a row, which is far from unheard of. So they are going to Dynamax their Lucario, because this is their last-ditch effort to try and quash my terrifying water types, which have just been ripping through their entire team. They are going to outspeed, of course they are. There's no world in which the Gastrodon is going to outspeed a Lucario outside of Trick Room. And it gets a crit, probably didn't matter, but either way, I'm pretty confident we've got this match in the bag at this point. I don't know why, it's not like half their team was just instantly wrecked by a frog, but hey. So we're going to go in with our Choice Scarf Gourgeist here, let it see some action in this battle. So this thing is actually proven to be pretty useful throughout these battles. We see that it actually has an Assault Vest, and that's a pretty nice item. It's too nice for you, I don't want you to have it, I'll take that. So we're going to just go ahead and just yoink that Assault Vest right off of it so that it takes more damage from the special attackers in the back. And it is going to use Max Steel Spike, but Gourgeist actually lives on 2 HP. I am not sure if this Lucario is a physical set or a special set at this point. Lucario can go either way, so it's kind of hard to tell while it's Dynamax. We are going to just use Poltergeist and get a little bit of a chunk off of it before we go down, which in my opinion is free damage because I didn't really expect to survive the last turn anyway, so that was nice. That's a good gourd. Isn't it absolutely gorgeous when it's shiny? I'll grab my things. Alright, so Noivern's coming out here, and Noivern did not get to do a whole lot in the last battle, so I'm hoping it can do something a bit more respectable this time, other than just cause like a 10 damage with Hurricane and then die. So we are going to Dynamax it, because outside of Rain, Hurricane has abysmal accuracy. You're talking about the bad accuracy of Hydro Pump. Hurricane has even less accuracy than that does, and yeah, I would rather sit through this whole Dynamax animation and go for the Airstream than risk a Hurricane miss at this point, just to finish the match off. So we're going to just use our Vortex of Power to just crush this Metal Doge and clear it away, and that's it. That is the battle against Luna. I'm so sorry. I have done a horrible thing to you, and I loved it. Here is the rental code for the team. If you too would like to commit acts of treason against poor hapless Y-Comm randoms, go ahead and input this code and save this rental team to your own roster. And do keep in mind that I only have a limited amount of space to host rental codes, so as I continue to make teams and make videos, I will be overwriting the older codes with the newer ones. So if you are interested in this team, go ahead and grab it now while it is still available. That's going to be the end of this video. This team was an absolute blast to use. The Politoed was the highlight for me, but even the team as a whole is enjoyable, beyond simply cheesing the opponent with an untimely demise. If you enjoyed my horrible Gourgeist pun, go ahead and like the video and subscribe for more teams which could be classified as crimes against humanity. If you've made it this far, leave a comment that frogs should not be permitted to play judge, jury, and executioner. Until next time, adios.